Hi there, I'm Mrs F, and this is my video on the reasons for the limited support of the Nazi Party between 1924 and 1928. Although I'm following the Edexcel specification, you'll find that a lot of the content is also relevant to other exam boards. At the moment, we're looking at Topic 2, Hitler's rise to power between 1919 and 1933. Last time, we looked at the reasons for, events and consequences of the Munich Putsch. Now we're going to have a look at the changes Hitler made to the party after the Munich Putsch, but why the party continued to get limited support between 1924 and 1928. As we learnt last lesson, although Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in prison, which in itself was a very lenient sentence, he was actually released from prison after just 9 months in December 1924, and the ban on the Nazi Party was lifted in February 1925. Hitler had realised, because of the Munich Putsch, that he couldn't rely on violence to gain power, so he began to reorganise the party to make it more electable. Nevertheless, the period up to 1929 is known as the Nazi Party's lean years, because although the membership of the party was growing, it still struggled to win seats in the Reichstag, as you can see from the election results at the bottom of the screen. As I briefly mentioned last lesson, Mein Kampf was dictated by Hitler and written out by Rudolf Hess during the time Hitler was in prison. It was a propaganda book which set out key Nazi beliefs. The first of these was racism. Hitler believed that the German race, which he called the Aryan race, was destined to rule the world. But he said that there was a Jewish conspiracy to undermine Aryan rule. Jews, he said, planned to weaken the Aryan race by intermarriage, by taking over German industry and also moderate political groups such as the Social Democrat Party. He also continued some of the policies that we saw in the 25-point programme. The first of these was nationalism. Hitler wanted to revive the power of Germany, for example by abolishing the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler also stressed the need for Lebensraum, the German word for living space. He said that German people needed to invade Russian land to the east of Germany, drive out the communists, and provide land for German farmers to produce food and to feed the German nation. He also continued to stress some socialist ideas, the idea that the wealth of German land and industry should be used to benefit working people. He also stressed totalitarianism, throwing off democracy, which Hitler believed was weak, and instead putting power in the hands of the state, preferably one leader who could organise everything for the benefit of the people. Millions of German people read Mein Kampf, and Hitler's ideas became well known. Hitler realised that to get the Nazis elected, he needed to make them a much better organised political party. So at the headquarters in Munich, he appointed a party secretary and a party treasurer to ensure that the Nazis were well organised and well funded. Then he turned the rest of Germany and divided them into 35 regions, each with their own leader to build support across the country. Hitler relied on the most able leaders forcing their way to the top, much like he had done with the German Workers' Party. As well as its paramilitary arm, the SA, who we've looked at in a previous lesson, Hitler also created a women's section called the German Women's Order. For younger people, a National Social German Students' League was created, and there was also a School Pupils' League. The idea behind this was designed to build support amongst different groups within the population. And to pay for all of these changes, Hitler overhauled party finances. He raised money from wealthy industrialists who shared some of Hitler's nationalist views and hoped that he would be powerful enough to control the trade unions. In this way, he was able to get some loans from big businessmen. Hitler also strengthened the paramilitary forces of the Nazi Party. By 1930, he had expanded the SA to 400,000 members. But at the same time, Hitler didn't really trust the SA. They were violent thugs who were difficult to control. And whilst Hitler was in prison, the SA had become loyal to Ernst Röhm, its commander. So in 1925, Hitler took steps to tighten his control of the paramilitary forces. First of all, he replaced Röhm as leader of the SA. And then he set up a new security group. They were known as the Schutzstaffel, Protection Squad, or SS. It was a smaller group with specially selected members that could be trusted to act as Hitler's personal bodyguard. They were put under the control of Heinrich Himmler, a senior member of the Nazi Party, who we'll learn more about later as he became head of the Nazi police state. Although expanded to 3,000 members by 1930, because they were specially selected and elite, they were of course much smaller than the SA. Now the SA, as we know, wore brown uniforms. The SS wore black uniforms, and they became famous and feared because of this. By 1926, it was becoming clear that the power of local leaders was creating a split in the Nazi Party. So Hitler called a national conference of the Nazi Party to address this split, and he deliberately based it in Bamberg in Bavaria. Because of the location, it meant that Southern Party leaders, who had the same opinions as Hitler, made up the majority of the conference. Now, the northern section, which was led by Gregor Strasser, they emphasised the more socialist elements of the 25-point programme, because the north of Germany was quite urban and they wanted to attract the support of workers. But the southern section were more interested in the nationalist and racist policies in order to attract support from the middle classes and farmers. Now, the two main results of the conference were firstly that the socialist policies of the party were weakened. Hitler insisted that policies which could be painted as communist, for example, taking land from rich noblemen or industrialists, would not be pursued. And I guess this isn't really surprising when he was trying to get loans from big businessmen. These policies wouldn't be very popular with them. Hitler also established the leader principle, the idea that he, as party leader, was in absolute control and all members must follow his direction. So the Bamberg Conference was really important in securing Hitler's control of the party. However, in spite of all these changes, the Nazis still only got very limited support between 1924 and 1928. The first reason for this is because of Stresemann's very successful economic and foreign policies. The Dawes and Young plans helped to restore economic stability. Inflation eased, employment increased, and the public were better off, which cut support for extremist parties like the Nazis. The moderate Social Democrats won 30% of the general election vote in May 1928. Stresemann was also very successful in his foreign policy. The Locarno Pact, membership of the League of Nations, and the Kellogg-Briand Pact all gave Germany more status in the world, which also cut support for nationalist parties like the Nazis. So at a time of stability, scaremongering was less likely to work. The Nazis' messages about the dangers posed by Jews and the need to abolish democracy largely fell on deaf ears. As a result, they won practically no support from the working classes in the big cities. For example, in the 1928 general election, they only won 1% of the votes in Berlin and in the Ruhr industrial district. And a final reason for the limited support for the Nazi Party was the pressure they were put under by the Weimar authorities following the Munich Putsch. Several times the Nazi Party was banned nationally or in certain parts of Germany. So now that we've finished looking at why the Nazis didn't get much support during the so-called golden age of the Weimar Republic, next lesson we're going to start looking at why their support massively increased after 1929. So I hope to catch you next week for my lesson then. Goodbye.